Hi everyone. Welcome to Aringo's first episode of the live coffee chat. I am Priyanka, and with me tonight is Jenifer Turtschanow. She is the CEO of Aringo MBA Admissions Consulting. Hi Jenifer, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Priyanka. I'm so excited to have this chat and be able to, just you and I get to chat and discuss some of the stuff that's been going on as far as where we are in the season and talking about our plan.
So this is what, because round two has just started. I mean, people are there, in the starting stage of the application. So, and that's what this episode is about, 90-day plan to tackle your round two application deadlines, as deadlines are in like starting of January. So let's dig in, let's get into it. Okay. So, and before I start with you, Jen, I want to tell that we have some exciting offers, a few of them, which I'll be discussing towards the end of this chat session. So just listen to it completely. You don't want to miss on that. Okay. All right. So Jane, so the round two deadlines is just a few minutes away. Okay. Sorry, a few months away. And a lot of our audience and a lot of people are feeling jittery, and they're not confident where to start, how to start. So can you just tell me what is the biggest misconception that people have, the candidates have during this time about round two?
Yeah, I think that most people think that there's not enough time. I think it's definitely a daunting task, right? Like you've got a lot to do. There's a lot of components, but I think people are kind of like, oh, I don't think I can do it by January. And then they start thinking about putting it off until round one next year. And I just, if you've got the score or you're on track to get the score you need, I definitely think there's time. And that's actually what we're talking about today, right? Like the 90-day plan.
Yes, true. In fact, we see a lot of candidates that come to us to our Ringo MBA admissions that round one versus round two. They think all the admissions, there are better chance of admissions in round one, there are better scholarship opportunities in round one, and round two is not that great. So is it something like that? Round two is like a lesser round or something?
No. I mean, I think that there's a couple of schools that round one is better. And that would be for schools that have this early decision, like Darden or
Yeah.
Duke. Like, like if you know that those schools are your schools, then round one early decision gives you the best possible um, chances at admission, right? Because you're telling them they're like, you're only one. But the other schools, for the most part, the question a lot of the times is like, are there enough seats? Is there still going to be scholarship? And there is. And so I would say that most schools are going to put slightly more scholarship towards round one, and then about an equal or lesser amount for round two. And it's kind of same with the seats. Like round one, round two, they're building their class from those two rounds. And then round three is much more of filling in the blanks, right? Like the different people that they don't have represented, industries, like those types of things, what will help with rounding out their rankings. Like that's kind of where round three is. And round three typically is much more of a domestic round, right? Like, so people that
Okay,
aren't going
yeah.
to have visas and go through those hoops to be able to get there. So,
Yes.
that there's really not that much difference between round one and round two. Round three, absolutely different, but round two and three, or round one and two, are pretty much the same. And anybody that gets admitted in round one but doesn't accept their seat, obviously gives a new seat for round two. Plus, it also usually, if there's scholarship, it goes back into the scholarship pot and is redistributed during round two. So you kind of, again, like you're not really losing much.
So that's good news too for us, for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's get tactical here. So we're talking about the 90-day plan. So if anybody like starting from today, no test scores, nothing, just starting off with the application, sitting at the mid-September here. So I wanted to understand what should be their first and foremost, like from where should they start?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is to develop a school list. And I do have kind of like a 90-day plan mapped out. And that's kind of the only reason we're using a PowerPoint today. You usually won't have one for these coffee chats, but I do think it's, worth having it for today. But so I think like the biggest part that you're going to want to do is to, start developing your school list. Which schools are you most interested in? Start working on your homework. And then being able to start to build your to-do list. So yeah, so
It's very
yes,
interesting. I mean, see your plan here. So, like, they divided into phases. Can you just quickly help us to go through it? I mean,
yeah. So that first part is those first 30 days. We're kind of in that right now. So if you've not taken the GMAT or GRE, then it's time to start studying and get things ready. I do think that it's best that you have enough time to take it at
Mhm.
least twice. So leaving at least kind of like 30 days before the deadline so that you can take it again. So then the other thing is that school research. So you want to connect with current students, alumni, making that kind of list of like, who am I going to contact and get a game plan there. And then from there, you also want to start thinking about who your recommenders are going to be. And I think that like, depending on your situation with your recommender, you can decide if you're going to ask them like, you know,
Mhm.
now, or if you're going to wait a little bit, depending on like timeline. Then we start moving into phase two, which is the 30 to 60 days, right? And so at that point, you're going to start actually writing, start working on your outline, and then your resume, converting that over from a typical like work resume over to an MBA resume, which has a little bit more of the finer points. And we can kind of get into that later if we need to, but essentially it's much more of what you've accomplished or achieved in each one of these roles. And then you also want to make sure you're including those ECs and hobbies and volunteer work, because that's a big part of what MBA programs are looking for, is who you are, right? Like, don't we always say like, okay, now tell us about the fun part.
The
um,
holistic application, as they say.
yeah, right. And then you're going to finish rounding out your school list, because hopefully you have your score by then, and or a rough
Mhm.
idea of what that will be. And then then you definitely want to start working on letters of recommendation. And that final 30 days or phase 3, you want to start completing things and getting them
Mhm.
off your list, which includes filling out the application form. Do not leave that for last. Any sort of video, essays, org charts, whatever is required for the application, you want to get those done. And then you want to start to review before you submit. I would absolutely have at least one person review your application before you submit. I mean, you could always have a Ringo review it for you, or be part of this entire process, right? So
Yeah.
that's the 90 days. What do you think?
Yeah, that's great. That sounds great and sounds quite sought out for anyone who is starting. So it's a good place to start and how to proceed to have a clear map, how to go forward. So tests are something people prepare, etc. But applications, essays are like the heart of the applications. And generally, people don't apply to one school; they apply to multiple schools because they have wanted to put their best foot forward for their career and everything. So, can you just talk about the strategical part of the essays? Like one should start with the easier ones first, or one should go about like why this school in particular, or why MB kind of questions. So how should they start with the essay part?
Yeah. So the what I would say is that you want to start with the like why MBA, right? I think that that's even more important than this school specifically, because once you have the why MBA and kind of your short and long-term goals, then that's actually your outline, right? Like, this is what I want to do and this is how I got to get there. And so these are going to start giving you the bullet points of like, okay, so I need the classwork, I need the network, I need this. And so it kind of starts to fill in the why MBA. And then that will start to trickle down to, okay, this is why I chose this specific school, because I like the case method, or I want to be able to curate my entire own curriculum like Booth, right? So, like that's going to help you with those questions. So I think it's best to start with the basics, and that will
Okay.
help inform the rest of them.
So Aringo, I mean, would have we are having like clients every year, so many clients. Is there some pattern of mistakes that you see in the cases? Like one thing you want to say that this is a very common mistake that clients do, that candidates do, and which is that and how to avoid it?
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I've seen is when somebody writes what they think the admissions committee wants to hear. And, you know, an MBA program is trying to curate a class. They want people to be part of the program that are different and have different perspectives, diversity, in all parts of a profile, right? Like, whether you're from a certain country or you're, working in an industry that usually doesn't come like to like last year we were working with a candidate who was a teacher and had moved up through, like into the leadership roles and things like that. And she really, when we first chatted, didn't think that she had a chance at any of the schools, but she's going to Wharton this fall. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's like, you can limit yourself by thinking of like, okay, what does the admissions committee want to hear? They want to hear all this business, blah, blah, blah. Of course, they do want to hear some of that, but they really want to hear about you, your experience, and what you want to do. I mean, like, I wouldn't put something that's like unfathomable in there, but I mean, like, if you have like goals that aren't necessarily, consulting or finance, you can absolutely pitch those goals to the admissions committee, and help them see what you want to do and what's plausible.
Yeah, true. So this is the part, I mean, we can learn always, and that's how we make the application unique. Otherwise, it will be like one from the stack kind of application.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Another thing, a lot of candidates we see have questions around how to secure a strong letter of recommendations. A lot of questions that, how to approach them, when to approach them, and how to enable them so that the kind of letter of recommendations they write, it strengthens their application. Okay. It talks what they are talking in the application, it's in alignment. So what should be the idea of going about it?
Yeah. So for recommenders, it's hard because there's a range of what level of engagement a recommender wants. There's some recommenders who have done this time in, time out, and they don't really need any help, right? Like they got it. They know what they're looking for. They know what to put in there. And then there's some recommenders who have never done this before and are intimidated by the process. So I would say, like, talk to them, ask them what they need, and you can help them with anything from, like, a cheat sheet of, like, who you are, what you've done, what you've accomplished, and even better if you can do it with a, like, go and take them to coffee and share your goals so that they have a little
Yeah.
bit of context for this. And then, beyond that, like, if they need help, you can help with them, like, if they're like struggling on, like trying to figure things out, you can always go back to your reviews that you've had, with them, or even from um, past employers, like if they feel like they're having to reach for something. But you always want to be a resource, but don't be too pushy.
Yeah.
um, but also don't let them sit there and try to figure it out, because what happens is they don't really get things done because they're just kind of procrastinating of, like, I don't know what to do with this, and it's kind of a tomorrow thing. So you
Yeah.
definitely want to check in with them and see how you can help. And I think that that's, the important thing is
Yeah.
having the
Yeah.
conversation versus just sending them the email from the application portal and then waiting for them to send it.
So I think I also tell a lot of our Aringo's people, the clients, that so what there is one common LOR thing that a lot of schools follow. It's like one LOR can be used for multiple schools, and that
Yeah.
helps the recommenders a lot. And secondly is, as Jenifer said, that don't wait for recommenders to respond. You need to be a little bit nudgy about it, but they're recommender, they're senior people. You have a certain limit to do, but don't wait it until the last moment, because end of the year, it's holiday season, people are on vacations, etc., and it becomes much more difficult to approach them. So don't wait for deadlines to complete your letter of recommendation. Try to do it prior to that. So, because that is something that's to be done from a third party who has no direct interest in your application. Okay. So just ask them, request them, and that should work, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's definitely because I call it like herding like cats, right? Like you can never make it always happen. So that's your only like uncontrolled variable in the whole equation.
So another thing that a lot of queries that we get is, okay, so essays is something that they can work on, and they have like this 90-day plan in place, etc. How in all this busy and with their regular job and everything, how they can include the networking part, the networking with students, alumni, schools, etc. And is it that important? How should candidate go about it, and should they spend some time in doing so?
This is absolutely my favorite part and my favorite topic of MBA applications because I don't think that people understand how vital it is that you talk to somebody from the school and not just
Mhm.
like one conversation. And I think that it's helpful in many different ways. One, like I'll have candidates that'll say like, oh, I reached out to the school, like to some students and only one replied, or all 11 replied. We shouldn't
Oh.
be reaching out to 11 because yeah, that's a little bit much. But I do think like, yeah, you do want to read, like have a wide net of like, okay, if I reach out to all these people, let's see how many reply. Maybe start with 5 and then go from there. But I think that people don't realize that they're going to give you the color and context of what this experience is like, and they can help you more specifically with your kind of like shaping your short-term and long-term goals and giving you the pulse of what's happening as far as getting internships and getting jobs, what the
Mhm.
market
Mhm.
actually looks like, because the data that we're looking at, their employment reports and what's on their website is actually from a year ago. Right now it's from 2024, so we don't even know what happened this summer yet because their reports aren't published all the way. Some of them are, but beyond that, like I think like it's really important for you to figure out how to communicate with them. And again, like this is like my favorite topic. I like present for like this is my like presentation that I usually give every year with GMAT Club, so it's my thing. So if you're interested, I can dive into that even further. I think we have a couple of those YouTube videos
Yes, we do.
specifically on this topic, but I also have like a homework sheet of like how to find people to talk to. I won't dive into all that right now, but if you're interested, send me an email and I will share that with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim. Uh, so another thing that I wanted to ask Jen is that generally people don't have like 10 on 10 application profile. They have some gray area, some not so good part of the application, like maybe lower than the average GPA of the school they're applying to, or some non-traditional profile they are coming from. So can be many things. So what is the best way to address them in the application so that it does not hurt their chances? Is there a particular way that they should go about it?
Yeah, so if you have like think of it as a balancing game, right? Like the admissions committee in the grand scope of things is trying to help their rankings. So they're going to be looking at
Mhm.
several different components. One of those is going to be your GMAT or GRE, your GPA,
Mhm.
years of work experience, background that you're coming from, and career goals, right? So if you have kind of like these, well, the other one is going to be school fit, but if you kind of control these things or you look at them, um,
Mhm.
if you have one area that's lower than the other, you want it to be slightly higher. And you want to figure out how to build confidence for the admissions committee that, like, even though I might have a lower GPA or GMAT score, I'm still ready for the academic rigor of the program. And some of those things could be, making sure that you're highlighting certifications that you've done, making sure that you're highlighting the quantitative or analytical side of your background or your work achievements, right? Like in your resume, or maybe even using a scenario where you had to take a large set of data and put it together and, build some sort of quantitative.
So quantification of your
Right.
resume.
Like, give an example of a time that you've had to do this. So it gives them the confidence that you are ready for the program. And so that's kind of where they're going to be able to balance things out.
Okay. So yes, so another important point that you've mentioned that, we need to quantify our achievements, the impact of our work in the resume, so that, if in case you are low on certain points on GMAT, GPA, or anything else, it's just can help you balance it out. Great point. So we're talking about a lot of moving parts here, Jen. So essays, networking, letter of recommendations, etc. So can you just help us? What is the best value addition can an admissions consulting like Aringo can add value to the application? How it can help you exponentially? What value addition can the consulting firms can do?
Yeah. So I would say it's decades of experience, right? We know these schools inside and out, and we know what they're looking for, and then how to communicate what they're looking for in their words, right? It's different than how you would put things on a resume for a job for what you're looking for in, an admissions committee for an MBA. So with that being said, it's also the stories, right? Like finding the stories and being able to tell them in a compelling way for the AdCom to say, okay, wow, they have a different perspective to share with us. And I mean, that's really important for people that are coming from an overrepresented applicant pool. And, everybody looks like they have the same exact job, years of experience, same GMAT score, or maybe even less, right? So how do you stand out? And it's those stories, and they don't always come from the professional side, like what's on your resume. Like it could, be this, like, I grew up in a family business, or I, I started a business when I was in high school, and it's so fun to hear these stories. But most of the time when I'm talking to somebody, they don't even realize the value that comes with it. And so that's what an admissions consulting firm or consultant can do by working with you and getting to know you and helping you present the best you for the MBA committee. And I think, like, the other part, like I was saying before, is, do you have realistic goals? Is this too big of a leap, right? Like, so you can make a pivot, that's absolutely fine, but you need to give the committee some convincing points for them to be able to see that, like, it's possible. And I think that the admissions consultant can not only be helpful in communicating it, but also kind of be like a little bit of a check. Like, in reality, that's not going to happen. So here's like how we build a plan to get where you want to be, to make it more believable for the admissions committee.
Yes, the experience counts and the results speak for themselves in that case. Okay, so before I wrap this up, Jen, can you give us, anybody who's listening to this, single most important piece of advice for someone who is committed for a strong round two application, what they should remember or what they should do so that, they are progressing towards their goal?
Yeah, I would say absolutely make a plan. And Priyanka, I know that I had planned on sharing some slides, going more in depth. So I'll do that right now, just again, like to help people with mapping this part out. So from the 90-day plan, again, that first phase, we want to be able to get the basics down. You want to, figure out what your GMAT GRE score is, your range, your testing. And don't be afraid of the schools that offer GMAT waivers too. Like if it's like this is the impossible part for me, why I can't apply this year. There are some really amazing schools that have
Mhm.
GMAT waivers, and they're there for a reason. And we can help you with getting into those schools. So don't be intimidated. And then you want to do that school research. And then again, like start thinking about who your recommender is. And so
Yeah.
then after that part, moving into round or phase two, you can start writing your essays, work on your resume, make sure that school list is where it needs to be, and then start setting deadlines for your recommenders. And then phase three is that final bit, final push, right? Is to complete the application, work on the extra parts of the application, and then have somebody review it. So, I think like that's the other thing, right? Is like you can't be in this alone because
Mhm.
it's such a big task. It is doable, so I don't want to change that perspective, but it is definitely doable. And I just hope that people understand that like it is, but you also need some support through the process, because if you go on any sort of forum, it's easy to immediately feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm not enough, because you see all these other things, or people have these huge generalizations about what it takes to get into these schools. And so, have somebody to support you and be in your corner. And I think that that's the biggest piece of advice, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Jit. Thanks so much. And before I end up, I want to say that, as I mentioned, that we do have some exciting offers to share. So we have two offers for you guys. So one is that we are offering 15% discount on our full school packages and our hourly packages. So for anyone who is attending this session, and just reach out to us and let us know, and we would be happy to give. Second is anyone want to get their own customized 90-day plan prepared by Jenifer, please just drop an email to her. You can see the email on the on the sessions, jennifer.t@aringo.com, and she'll get back to you and you can take it further from there. Okay. Yeah, that's it. And in case you want to have a detailed profile evaluation session, there's a calendar link, or reach out to us and we'll get back to you again. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and for this all the discussions that we have done. And I'm sure people would benefit from that. And we look forward for more episodes of this Aringo's Coffee Chat sessions. And let's kick ass the round two applications.
Awesome. Thanks, Priyanka. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.